Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
And indeed, you're very welcome along to this week's edition of Friday Night Racing, the first live edition of 2021. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year to you, Johnny Ward. How are you getting on?
Not too bad, Ger. Happy New Year to all our viewers and listeners. Hopefully we've a good show, and racing, the show goes on, which is the main thing at the moment.
Yeah, you brought big energy to that, Johnny. I hope you're going to bring the same energy to the rest of the year too.
It's tough, Ger. It's like, it's cold. It's January, my dry January lasted as far as Saturday, which is the 2nd of January. So, my motivation levels could be better at the moment.
All right. Well, look, hopefully everybody's going to get cheered up by spending an hour in our company this afternoon. And a reminder, Friday Night Racing and Off the Ball brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie or follow on Twitter at HRI Racing. I'm delighted to say our guest this week is Jonathan Moore, a jockey fresh off his first Grade 1 winner at Leverstown. Jonathan, I'd say you're a bit more excited than Johnny Ward at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's exciting time of year, and it was great to get that first Grade 1 winner under my belt.
Yeah, well, look, we'll talk about that in a moment. But this must be the best time of year for a national hunt jockey, where the big races are coming thick and fast, and you're far enough away from the end of year to be able to, if you're not having a great time, to ride yourself into some form, or if you are having a great time, to be thinking, ooh, actually, you know what, this could be the best 4 or 5 months of my life.
Yeah, no, it's especially after Leopardstown at Christmas, everything's gearing towards the likes of Cheltenham and the spring festivals, and you the good horses are sorting themselves from the bad horses in all your yards, and it's exciting. Some of the horses have come to the fore in Leopardstown, and some of the horses didn't. So the ones that have come to the fore, you're starting to get excited about them and what they can do in the spring.
And like on a day-to-day basis at the moment, if you're not actually going racing, as a stable jockey for Gavin Cromwell, does that mean you're riding out with him every morning, or is it a couple of mornings a week and riding out somewhere else? What's your day-to-day actually like?
Yeah, I'm with Gavin 4 mornings a week, and I go into Noel Meads 1 morning a week, and then I leave 1 morning spare to go wherever the entries may be, or wherever I think I can get up a spare ride. I might go pop into a different yard.
That spare day, then that's a marketing day, is it? You go around and remind everybody, hey, look, I'm here, I'm in good form, what's going on, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's just a trainer you look through, maybe in entries that has a few entries during the week, or someone that you ride the odd spare ride for. You might pop into them there and that spare morning to keep your foot in the door, really.
Yeah, it's interesting you went back. You mentioned Noel Mead as well, Johnny, because he was massive in terms of your development, and I suppose in some respects he might have kick-started your career. Yeah,
no, Noel has been very good to me. I went to Noel, I think I had 10 winners ridden when I went to him, and he gave me, I think my 3rd ride from was Cork National, and it won, and it was favoured as well to put a £7 claimer up for that, and he's given me a lot of big days, and he probably propelled my career onto the next level when I needed someone to do that.
What's he like to ride for? Like, you look at we've had Sean Flanagan on a couple of times, and the career that he's had since he moved to Noel, and obviously you remember Barry Geraghty rode from Paul Carberry, synonymous with him. Niall Madden, who retired recently, synonymous with the yard as well. Dennis O'Regan, the real class act in terms of the jockeys that have come through there. Is he a good boss to have when you were with him?
Yeah, no, he's a great boss, and like I even go in there 1 day a week still, and I enjoy going in there. He's a great man to give you confidence, and obviously he improves your riding, because I'm twice the rider when I went to him, and I'd say a lot of that is down to the way he kind of brings you along.
When you say twice the rider, like how much, why can you improve to that extent? Is it the experience of riding horses, or the experience of riding good horses? Because I guess a promising jockey can become a bad jockey if he just doesn't get the run of the green in terms of the yard he's in or whatever.
Yeah, I suppose in Knowles, when I first went there, Paul Carberry was still riding out, and couple like that, and you just learn so much from riding out with those lads. And then the caliber of horse Noel had in training was better than horses probably that I was used to riding, and they all probably come together and just make you a better rider, you know.
How did it start for you, your County Wexford man? No more than Sean, who we mentioned there, and there's actually a lot of racing in Wexford, particularly kind of the point-to-point scene. But was it something that maybe you thought your size was fitted towards doing, or was it something you got into early?
Well, I grew up on a dairy farm down in Wexford, and we've horses on the farm, and I started off hunting, and I think I first hunted at the age of 5, and show jumping and eventing mostly. Then I progressed through the scene, and I was probably 12 or 13, and I went and started riding out race horses for local trainer Mosey McCabe. And as soon as you start riding out thoroughbreds at that age, or the speed and everything, there's nothing more you want to do. So that's probably when I realised I wanted to be a jockey, and luckily then I stayed light, and that all helped.
You mentioned what you mentioned there. That's kind of something I've said before on the show. You said once you started riding horses at speed, there was nothing else you wanted to do. And do you think that, like, if you took 100 kids from all parts of the country and you put them on horses like that, once they could ride, how many of them would be hooked by it?
I'd say the majority. It's just anyone that likes a bit of adrenaline rush or anything like that. Once you ride your first thoroughbred up a gallop at speed, I can still remember, and as I say, I don't think it's 12 or 13, and yeah, there was nothing like it at the time, and it kind of gets you hooked straight away. Like that's what you want to do. That's the adrenaline rush you want.
How did you get there? Like, you must have known that this was going to be very exciting. So was it like, how did that actually come about? What was the build up to that?
To get to a jockey from that stage, or?
Well, no. Before you get your first ride, you must go, I want to do that. Like, so you've been doing show jumping and eventing, and then you must have seen the racing, and somebody must have allowed you. Your mum and dad must have said, okay, that's fine, and they must have phoned somebody. So there must have been great excitement about the whole process of getting that first opportunity.
Yeah, well, it was actually Mosey McCabe's son, Edmund McCabe, same age as me, and he's a good friend of mine, and I played hurling and football and soccer with him. And one day his father was there, Mosey, and Mosey asked me, did I want to come up and ride out thoroughbreds? And I said, yeah, that'd be cool. And I went down to his yard, and yeah, I rode out that morning. I think I rode 3 lots that morning, and I remember getting home and telling my mother and father, this is what I want to do. The thrill I got off that this morning, and I think my mother probably rolled her eyes up to heaven, and my father probably laughed. But yeah, that's that. I was hooked then.
Yeah, because we were.
What was it actually like?
Yeah, sorry, Joe.
Yeah,
what was it actually like?
Yeah, sure. It was riding like, I was used to ponies that you're going around hunter trials and cross country courses, and you think you're going fast. When you get up on a thoroughbred, half a ton animal, and you're going up a gallop at the speed and the power they have, you're 12 or 13 years of age, so you think there's nothing like it. And yeah, it was a great thrill, and that's how we got hooked.
I suppose, when you say your mother rolled her eyes up to heaven, like, I was actually talking about this to a couple of people on the Saturday show last week, in terms of if your kids want to get involved in a certain sport, and we spoke about rugby and other sports. Was it a concern for your parents, considering the dangers involved?
It was, yeah, but my mother's a teacher herself, and she kind of always pushed us into something, like, kind of always told us, if you're interested in something or you're passionate about something, she wouldn't get in her way. So she probably didn't think at that stage I was going to progress to be a jockey, but she definitely didn't stand in my way and helped me out as much as she could, herself and my father,
Obviously, you've got horses on the farm, and you're not unfamiliar with the care and the what it takes, but it's not racing. It's different, and it's a completely different industry. So how do you go from a 12-year-old with dreams to actually becoming a jockey then?
Well, yeah, every school holiday and every Saturday, Sunday mornings, I was going riding out from then on. And then I I probably wanted a way to get out of school to be a jockey. My mother being a teacher, that was going to be quite difficult. So when I was after my junior cert, I went to race at the racing academy in Kildare. I knew that would be a good stepping stone to becoming a jockey. Coming from a background that didn't really have racing, and race was supposed to be a transition year, and I was supposed to go back and do my leaving cert, which my mother still haven't forgiven me for not doing. But I suppose when I finished race, I was light and I could be an apprentice, and I was 16, and I went and got my apprentice license with Gordon Elliott then, and Gordon gave me my first few rides, and no looking back really. But as I say, my mother still hasn't forgiven me for not doing my leaving cert.
And when did you start feeling comfortable? Like, so you've done the apprentice and you've got experience in great yards. When did you start feeling like, I actually just understand what my role is, what I'm supposed to do? I can be myself at the start line. I can be myself, in the middle of a race when some of the best jockeys in the world are against me. When do you start to feel like, okay, I know what the lay of the land is here?
Well, I actually got off to a terrible start, really. I was 16 and I didn't ride my first winner till I was 20. I had 4 years, but through those 4 years, I worked really hard and really wanted to make it as a jockey, to ride winners. And I suppose I rode my first winner then when I was 20, but because it took me so long to do it, I'd learned so much and I appreciated it a lot more. And it kind of took off from me then. I wrote out my claim in 2 years then. So I suppose somewhere between 20 and 22, I realised maybe I could make a good living at this.
That the fact you mentioned, Johnny, there, that it did take so long, was that tough on you mentally? There are very precocious young riders. You see Jack Kennedy's coming from the pony racing sphere. His first ride's at 16, but straight away he's bang into it. There were, a lot of jockeys are late developers. Were you always confident you'd get there? I didn't really know, being honest with you, Johnny. Those first 4 years, it was tough, like not riding a winner in 4 years. And you're starting at 16 and people are telling you you're going to hit the ground running and you're not running at all. So that was tough. I tell you, that was tough now, and it tested me a lot now, being a young man. There was days when you thought, Jesus, what am I doing all this work for? Maybe I should go do something else. But I think the main thing was I just stayed really focused, and then when it did come, I appreciated it a lot more and probably kept my head down a lot more because of it. I think it's so important as well, isn't it, to be a grounded individual, like Ger and I were as teenagers. That that you have to kind of keep your eye on the job here, because there is a temptation for young jockeys, particularly kids that can be around the curragh, to kind of lose the run of themselves if things are going well or badly.
Yeah, no. I suppose when you're 16 or when you start going well as a jockey and you're making a few pound and everyone's calling you a superstar and you're going to make a lot of money and you're wanting to buy cars and do all that stuff, I'm sure it's very easy to get sucked into that I don't know, footballer lifestyle maybe or something as a young lad and kind of waste everything. But I suppose my 4 years there not doing anything, I kind of matured to all that, and once my chance came, I was ready for it, and mentally and physically, I suppose.
How many races are you talking about here over that 4 year period where you didn't have a winner? If you were to combine those 4 years, how many times do you think you saddled up and actually didn't get a winner?
I think I had just shy of 100 rides in that 4 years. So a lot of horses were saddled before having my first winner over a long period of time.
Right. And did you get close? Were there seconds? Were there short heads that you were being beaten in?
Yeah, I was beaten ahead when I was 16 in a opportunity racing down Ryle. I was riding a horse for Colin Murphy, an opportunity in Wexford one day. Looked like I was going to win, and 10 lengths clear going to the last, fell, broke my collarbone. So there was days it looked like it was going to happen, and then when it hadn't happened, you're wondering, was it ever going to happen? But luckily I stayed focused and it worked out.
And so when the first win happens, like what is the emotion of that?
Relief. that was my emotion, because it was so long coming. Oh yeah, I won't forget that day anyway. Tipperary, I think the 20-something of July 2014. It was a big day for everyone in my house, I think, as well, because I probably had family members and friends that were kind of saying, "Jeez, this lad isn't going to be a jockey at all. He'll never ride a winner." I was getting that the whole time. This lad will never ride a winner. And yeah, when I got that, I suppose the biggest feeling was relief.
Who was the name of the horse, actually?
Coolier Delaloi was his name, for Michael Cleary.
That's right, Collar de la Law, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember much about like a small yard as well? And I guess it was a special day for you, and it's like Michael Cleary to have a winner as well. They're the ones that you would appreciate as well, the smaller stable.
Yeah, no, it was great. The horse had never won before, and I'd never won before, and yeah, it was. I suppose he was maybe fancied to run well and maybe be placed, but he actually bossed the race and won really well.
And then you ride your claim out quickly, and at that point the confidence comes. But the value of the 4 years experience, I presume, begins to show that you feel like your own skills. What point does the entry to Noel Meade kind of come into all this and begin to give you the confidence that, like, not only are you supposed to be here, but you're going to have a good career here?
I suppose I was riding a £7 claimer. I think I had 10 or 11 winners ridden, and I went to Noel Meade. It was actually Barry Geraghty that got me the job at Noel Meade, and I suppose when I went to Noel's, then I started riding a better calibre of horse in all the better handicaps, the likes of the Cork Nationals, as I said, and Leopardstown at Christmas. And I was actually lucky then that season, my first season with Noel Meade, I think I rode 3 or 4 Grade A handicap winners. I won a Leinster National, a Leopardstown Chase, a Punchestown Festival winner, Cork National and Midlands National. And yeah, that kind of all led then to different things opening up, and kind of thought at that stage, might make a good go at this.
I suppose as well, the confidence that brings you, that also turns you into a better jockey. Is that seems to be the intangible here when we ask everybody, like, trying to make the point a little bit earlier on, I'm not sure how much of it you heard, like you can ride the ride of your life on a horse that finishes 5th or 6th, but the horse should have finished 10th or 12th, and we don't know anything about that. So, like, your own form and your own sense of what's working and what's not working, part of that just comes from experience, I suspect.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of it is down to experience, but as you say there, it's all about the caliber of horse you have underneath you, and you're riding good horses and you're riding winners. Your confidence is high, and when your confidence is high, in any sport, you start making the right decisions, and that just all leads to, I suppose, you building your career and building your profile as a jockey.
Just though, when you are like doing well with Noel Meade, it's kind of it's a bit like, we'll say, if you're doing well for the Ireland under-21s or you're doing well for the minor team, doesn't necessarily mean that the same boss is going to have you for the seniors, for example. And was that how much of a concern was that I as good as I might be doing as a young jockey, it's not inevitable that I will progress, like, in terms of getting a proper senior job?
Well, yeah, so that was it. That season, as I said, you're going through your claim and you're wondering, this is great, but I need a job at the end of this, because there's going to be claimers coming behind me. But I was lucky at the end of that season at Punchestown. I rode a winner for Rebecca Curtis, Irish Cavalier, in the Grade A handicap at Punchestown, and because of that, she offered me a stable jockey job with her, which was massive at the time for a lad that was still actually a £5 claimer.
Well, this is interesting. So, because to kind of borrow the football parlance again, now you're an Irish footballer who goes over to Britain, like so many have, and now you're an Irish jockey who goes over to Britain, in this instance Wales. Was that hard to move out of your country and to move out of your comfort zone, and how did it go?
Well, I actually I actually based myself in Ireland while I was stable jockey to her. I used to fly over and back, even though I was in England 5-6 days a week. I was actually flying over and back a good bit. Because Rebecca was so far down in Wales, it would be just a waste of time going basing yourself down there. So I was flying over and back to mainly race courses and all. It was you say, like, you go over there and a lot of lads come home with their tail between their legs. But before I came home with tail between my legs, I rode a lot of nice winners.
It is a bit of a, it's a daily grind over there as well. That, like, if you're riding, you're riding kind of a lot of ordinary races, a lot of ordinary horses. Prize money mightn't be great, and it's not necessarily the most glamorous thing in the world, particularly if you're going badly.
No, that's what I noticed that a good bit. Like, over there, it was it's a day in, day out, day of racing every day, and in the winter it was racing every day. But the one thing I was lucky with Rebecca was she actually had a real good caliber of horse, and anything that went below a certain level, she just got rid of them. So she just had a lot of weekend horses and not a whole pile of weekday horses at that time. And so I never had to actually experience that real grafting in England. I kind of lived a better lifestyle than I probably should have at the time.
What do you mean by that?
Well, sir, I wasn't even riding out. I was only flying over to where the race meeting was, stay over there for a couple of days, stay with friends, maybe go back down to hers and ride out a day, then go racing. And yeah, I done a lot of air miles and a lot of travelling, but I didn't do a whole pile of grafting, working hard, riding out, or going to the Plumptons of a Monday or anything like that.
And was that a good thing? Was that a getting that out of your system period of your life in some ways?
Well, at the time I was going over a stable jockey, and I thought it would last forever. But like most things in life, it didn't last forever. It lasted for a year and a half, but it was a great year and a half.
What went wrong?
For me, Rebecca she went from having, over summer, she went from having 70 horses to 20 horses. And I wasn't living over there, and I was neither here nor there. And Noel was after getting very busy back in Ireland, and kind of came to a stage where second jockey to Noel was better than stable jockey to Rebecca. And that's why I made a decision, I think it was November time, I'd be better off based back in Ireland. But that year and a half I had with Rebecca, like, that was invaluable. I got to ride in a lot of big races, and I learned so much, riding at big meetings, big races in England, Cheltenhams and Aintries, and riding good horses over there. It was a great stepping stone, and I'm forever grateful for, like, the rise and the winners I got from that yard.
I do like asking jockeys this: what are the differences in riding in a bog standard Irish race and a bog standard British race in terms of jockeyship?
Wouldn't be as competitive over there. You get a lot more room here, and lads are probably, or a lot more room over there. I mean, and lads are probably a lot nicer to you through your races over there. Ireland is so competitive. You don't get an inch, and it's dog eat dog when you're out in that racetrack. Where in the UK, I suppose 99 times out of 100, the best horse will win the race, and he'll have a clean run through. And it's definitely easier to ride in the UK, but great fun riding in Ireland too.
Yeah, like, we've had a lot of Brit bash and Ger with Brexit and all that, but it does go to show the British people in general, they're just nice, mannerly, friendly people, and we could actually learn a lot from them.
Don, that's interesting to hear, though, that the Irish, it's because we talk all the time about the golden age of jockeys that we're now coming to an end of. The last couple of that golden age of all-time great jockeys are just coming to retirement now over the next while, and yours is the generation that's going to have to replace them. So the culture that you've inherited sounds like it is. You said Barry Geraghty helped you to get the job at Noel Meade, so obviously he was looking out for the next generation, and seems like a genuinely nice person. But I would say on a racetrack, him and Ruby and Davy Russell, like, they've got their elbows out, literally and metaphorically.
Yeah, well, football team or rugby team there, they've whatever 11 men around them, 15 men around them to help them out. When you're out on that racetrack, it's me against you, and that's just that. It doesn't matter if you're a 7-pound claimer starting off or you're Barry Garrity after riding a couple of thousand winners. You're there fighting for your corner, for your trainer, for your owners, and that's the way you have to be. You know, it's an inch wouldn't be given, and an inch shouldn't be given.
You enjoy that?
Well, yeah, that's all a part of it. You know, that's race riding, and that's life as a jockey. You know, it's every man for himself. And listen, when we go back into the weigh room, we're all friends and everything's great. But when you're out on that racetrack, it's every man for himself, and that's how it is.
How did the Gavin Cromwell thing come around? Sorry, Ger. Yeah, how did this was the move that kind of, I guess, changed your life. If you're talking about Rebecca Curtis going down numbers at that time, you know, anytime I visit Gavin's, I'm amazed. It's like an explosion of people, an explosion of horses, an explosion of facilities, and you're the top dog there now.
Yeah, no, it's like anything. I was back in Ireland a year now at this stage after Rebecca's, and I was riding second jockey to Noel, and I was doing okay. I was tipping away though, you know, I wasn't having brilliant volume of winners, but I was tipping away and working hard. And I would very much think that in racing you can't let anything come to you. You have to go and get it. And I was after having a bit of luck for Gavin and a couple of spare rides that were after winning last 2 years previous to that, say, and picked up the phone one day and I rang Gavin and said it would be okay if I came in and ride out. I was seeing that he was a yard that was going up, and he every day you look at the paper, he was having more and more runners, more and more entries, more and more winners. So I said, here, I want to try and see if I can get involved in that. So I picked up the phone one day, I rang Gavin, asked him could I come in a day and ride out, and it all kind of went from there. My first ride from then, whilst going in riding out from, was a winner in Fairy House on a horse called Quantum Mental, and kind of all just spin rolled from there. And by the end of that summer, then I was made stable jockey, which was, you know, massive for my career and massive for me, and great to be involved with such a great man and such a great trainer and great place, you know.
It is staggering the progress he's made, because like when I first came upon him, I suppose it was the days of Ger's Girl and so on, and I suppose like maybe a lot of racing fans, I didn't know an awful lot about him, but he was frequently described as like the farrier who trains the odd horse in his part time, and now he's become the trainer who sort of oversees a farrier operation, but that's like kind of never mentioned anymore. Like, how has it happened?
Well, you can see yourself. You've been in Gavin's place. He's an incredibly hard working man, and obviously he's a very talented trainer as well. And he started getting more horses, and he was getting the results. So when you get the results, when you have the horses, you're going to keep on getting more. And I suppose a lot of owners and stuff throughout the country latched onto him. And yeah, anytime he gets the numbers of the horses, he delivers the goods. So yeah, he's very much the trainer now that has a farrier business, not the farrier that trains a few horses.
I think he's a good example as well, that like he would have obviously been friendly with Gordon Elliott, and you know he would have kind of based some of his training regime on him. But I think like we can bemoan a situation in Ireland where Willie Mullins wins everything, and if he doesn't win everything, Gordon Elliott picks up everything else. But it's actually kind of the opposite. It's a bit like the Kilkenny hurlers in that they're driving standards up for everyone else. And I think Gavin's a good example of that, where he's basically gone full throttle into this, and he's developed his facilities to such an extent that there's no ceiling in terms of where he wants to go.
No, exactly. Gavin's very ambitious and, as I say, very hardworking, and no stone is left unturned. You see it yourself every day. You go to the yard. Even every day, I'm in the yard 4 days a week, and there's work being done every day. And more stables going up, stuff being done to gallops. New gallop gone in this year. More schooling facilities. He's just improving it the whole time, and I think that's the main thing, to keep the wheel turning, keep improving, keep progressing, and he's big on that at the moment. And I suppose that's with getting obviously the volume of horses and the results, he's able to keep the wheel turning, and he's turned it into a fantastic place.
Jonathan, do you remember a horse called Georgie Shore in Galway?
I do. I was sitting down beside him at the second last one day as well in Galway.
Yeah, Georgie Shore, like Ger, I sometimes I do wonder about like work getting in the way of my life, because I've never seen a horse that I own actually win. And when Georgie Shore won in Galway, where was I but in the office next to where you normally are, where News Talk have their meetings and kind of clash heads together, watching it with Dan MacDonald as he got up in the line whilst everyone celebrating Galway. There was me having finished my my Saturday shift and off the ball.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Look, it's lucky. You should be in the office more often, Johnny. That's the only way to do that. Tell us about the race, and tell us about the superb ride that he was given by the jockey, Johnny.
Well, to be fair, when the horse was he was bought cheaply, and he's very strong. I have to give credit to Liz Davison, who's looking after him at the moment, and he's retired now. But when I saw him over the summer, he's very strong, and he's definitely not a kid's ride, so to speak. And I think when Gavin got him, that strength was there. It's strange, because I don't know what's the way he was trained or experiences he's had earlier in his life. He was a horse that kind of went from the front, and for whatever reason, Gavin decided that the best way to kind of cajole this horse to produce his best was actually to get him to settle. And Jonathan that day, do you remember, Johnny, I don't know, was it the low sun, which has been in the news a lot lately, but I think they only jumped 6 hurdles in the race because of the sun conditions, so it kind of turned into one of them all-weather bumpers that they're running today, which wouldn't have suited them at all. And despite all of that, through 50%, I suppose, to the will of the horse, but 50% to the utter genius of Jonathan Moore, it all came together.
Yeah, no, it was it all worked out that day. We dropped him in last, and he settled away, and we creeped up away, and he winged the last 2 and got up on the line. But I knew I was always getting up, Johnny. Yeah,
well, so did I, obviously, as Dan MacDonald will attest, as we were roaring at each other. But to be fair, Ger, we're here obviously to talk about a proper good horse in the horses that they have, and their recent Grade 1 winner. But even winning a 0 to 95 or 0 to 102, you can still produce a ride that gives you an extreme buzz if you back the horse or if you're the owner of the horse. And I think that's the beauty of racing. Johnny was absolutely brilliant that day, and it meant an awful lot to the likes of me.
Well, I'm sure, and I think that's the whole point. Look, we will talk obviously about Leopardstown in a moment, but listening to you talk about Gavin Cromwell and his ambition, it seems like you kind of caught each other at a good time, because listening to you talk about the 4 winless years and the time away, it all continues to sound like you are on your own journey of continuous improvement, and you're not going to settle for anything. So what's your ambition as a jockey? Who do you want to replicate? Who do you want to beat? What are your targets?
Well, I'm 26 now, and I suppose I've a lot of water under the bridge already, and I just feel like I'm ready to ride. I just want to ride as many winners as I can for Gavin and for everyone, and just I think Gavin's at that stage in his training career where he's ambitious and wants to really spur on, and I'm at that stage in my jockey career where I'm ambitious and want to spur on. And I suppose don't really set any targets, but I just want to be better just be better every year and get better results every year. Got the Grade 1 winner at Leopardstown this year, and just keep going and riding as many winners as I can, and good winners as well.
Well, tell us about that then. That's Flooring Porter in the Leopardstown Christmas Hurdle on the 28th of December. What for people who didn't see the race, what was the race like, and at what point did you get victory and kind of realised this is going to happen for you?
Just to provide a bit of context before he comes on there, Ger, this was completely the opposite to Georgie Shore in that it was a top-class race, but also the fact that this was literally tactically exactly the opposite. And what to add to your question, how much was it down to the jockey, because you weren't riding a hot favourite?
Well, as you see, he progressed through the ranks. He won impressively at Navan. We made a run on him at Navan, and it worked that day. So we decided Leopardstown. Well, first of all, he was supplemented, which was a brave decision from the Flooring Porter syndicate, and Gavin and Phelan making the decision at home. So he supplemented for the race first, and then when the declarations run and all, we could see there wasn't a whole pile of pace in the race, and we said, listen, we'll do the same thing as Navan, make the running, and see how it goes. And Flora and Porter, suppose he ran them all into the ground and made me look okay.
Well, if you're looking in terms of, like, you know, I don't like focusing on Cheltenham or whatever, but he's obviously entitled to his place taken on the likes of Paisley Park. But how flattered was he by that performance, or is that the sign of a proper 3 mile staying hurdler who, for me, actually was kind of going away again at the line? Because I don't know the sectionals or whatever. Like, do you think, I know you got a bit of a solo, but like, he's obviously good as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of people saying I got freebie or whatever, solo as you say, but Mark Walsh and Sean Flanagan are in behind me now, and they said they couldn't go with me early. They said I knew I went a good honest gallop anyway, but they said I didn't get a freebie, that they just couldn't lie up with me early. And I suppose Flora and Porter was always in his comfort zone and stealing lengths everywhere and got good breeders before I turned in, and was still going away. It was quickened up well and went away with him at the line. He done it like a really good horse. I don't know how he'll compare now to the 2 good English horses, but he couldn't have done it any better in Leopardstown. And I think a little bit is taken away from saying that he got a freebie, but I think he actually made the race a test himself, and nothing could go with him more than him getting a free lead.
If there's now, Ger is the ultimate professional, but if there's anything that will distract him, it's the thought of a long-term winner. So would this horse be one for him to back in the World Hurdle?
Potentially, I hope so. It doesn't look like, you know, the way they race in England, that you're going to go and get 5 lengths on a race anywhere. But he was racing against Grade 1 horses in Leopardstown and was able to do that. So listen, I don't know if he's going to run between now and Cheltenham. So he'll probably go to Cheltenham as a fresh horse maybe. And yeah, I thought he'd run well at Christmas. Wasn't expecting a performance like that. He's only just gone 6, so if he's still progressing, he mightn't be a horse. The worst horse to back come Cheltenham at a price probably that he is now.
Well, just looking at so there's a lot of talk in the build-up about Fury Road, and Fury Road finished 4th in that race. Sardou Belay finished 3rd, and the Storyteller was in 2nd. So it was a high quality, very small field, but a high quality field. Yeah,
no, it was a high quality race. We knew, like, Sir Cider Boule after winning in Cheltenham, and Fury Road only getting beaten by Monkfish or whatever in the Albert Bartlett. The form lines were strong in it, and he wet a top quality field, and yes, he's going over to Cheltenham as a live contender now. He surprised us, so hopefully he can keep surprising us.
I was just looking at previous winners of the race there. Click the button, and Apple's Jade won the race the last 3 years in a row, so not bad company.
No, it's obviously a nice race to win.
I started off by talking about the excitement of this time of the year. Like, how hard is it for you not to get carried away by the Dublin Racing Festival and then to already start thinking about Cheltenham? How do you keep focused on this weekend and the next race and making sure that your form is good and you're fit and you're doing all the right, getting enough sleep and you're eating properly and all that kind of stuff?
Well, you see, as you know, like, racing is going every week, and there's horses that are going to be running this weekend, horses that are going to be running next weekend, and horses that are running. So you have to keep focused at all times as you think about your next ride, your next rides that are coming, and you probably don't really start thinking hard about those festivals till they're staring you in the face as well. You know, it's a game where you have to stay focused on all the horses and all your rides, and just keep a distant eye on those festivals.
What else has Gavin Cromwell got in the yard at the moment that you're excited about?
He has a few really nice horses. Well, obviously Darver Star, he was 2nd in the Grade 1 there, Stevens' day, and he's I think he might go up and trip actually for the Dublin Race Festival, so he's obviously looking forward to him. And then we have a nice young novice, Vanillier, 2nd in the Grade 2 down in Limerick, in ground that wouldn't have been favourable to him. I think he's going to be a real Albert Bartlett contender. And And then obviously I have Gavin Cromwell in the Grade 1 there, Nace on Sunday. He's a lovely young horse. And there's a vintage Prosecco at home there. And there's a few really nice horses there. Present New York, a young filly. There's loads of real nice young horses in Gavin's yard. And that, let's be clear about, another bumper horse. But there's really good team coming together for the spring festival. So I'm just looking forward to all them. But as I say, we'll focus on the race days that are coming at us at present.
Yeah, you spoke about being 26 and, you're making me feel very old, but like we had Sam Ewing on there not that long ago and he's riding Murrahin. Now, there's a bit of a story behind Murrahin, Ger, because Gavin Cromwell bought him off Jamie Osborne and they basically had a toss for whether he'd cost $3,000 or $1,000 and they recorded it, I think, live, or they certainly recorded a video for WhatsApp. Gavin won the toss, so the horse cost $1,000 and he was bought by Ray Donoghue and his dad, John. And I think Gavin gave them the option of taking the horse because Gavin felt that this could provide them with their first winner. And to the best of my knowledge, he is running in Dundalk at 5 o'clock. And all I want to know from you, Johnny Moore, is I don't really want to know anything about your well-being, your family, your kids, your future. Will Murrahin win the 5 o'clock?
I'd say he's going there with a live chance anyway. He seems well at home, and Sam Ewan obviously taking a valuable £7 off or whatever. So I wouldn't be saying he's going there or not without a big chance.
Top man.
That's all you wanted. I'm glad you used this platform for such good ends there, Johnny.
Yeah, well, it's a horse that I wasn't a million miles off procuring myself, so his chance of actually doing anything improved exponentially when that didn't happen. But I am really hopeful for the lads that he provides them with the winner. He's drawn one. Now, I don't know why he's been very, very slowly out of the gates at times, but he's not a bad horse by any means, and I think he'll take an awful lot of beating if he can break it all. And Sam Ewing is almost as promising a jockey as I've seen in a long time, to be honest.
Yeah, no.
Look, Jonathan, you've been great with you. Go on, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that the stalls thing, he's actually very quick out of stalls at home and all, and anytime he's slow, it's probably him being a bit of a monkey, but I wouldn't be worried about the stalls with him anyway.
Listen, Jonathan, it's a brilliant story. Congratulations on the success to this point, and I've no doubt that it's going to continue for you in this vein. You know, it sounds like you're in a sweet spot now where you've got the work ethic and the experience, but also the quality of horses. So, congratulations, and it's great to have you with us. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Johnny.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Johnny.
Jonathan Moore there, our guest this week. A reminder, of course, Friday Night Racing is brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Any other particular highlights for you over Christmas? This is our first live show since everything happened at Leopardstown and Kempton. None of our big price tips from our pre-Christmas special came up, but we did tell everybody about Sharjah, who charged home for victory for Patrick Mullins. So hopefully some people were on that.
Well, it was a very entertaining show. Whatever about the tips, maybe it didn't go that well. It was, I don't know, Ger. It was a mad Christmas. I have to say, you want to be at these meetings at Christmas. You want to be at Leopardstown. If you're living around London, you want to be at Kempton. But it's just at the moment, to be honest, we're privileged to be able to watch this stuff in the box with the situation globally. We're just very fortunate that there is racing on, that we can watch this top class racing. I don't know, the horse that, for me, I wrote a story on Racing TV about him this week. Joe Donnelly and his wife, they're famous art dealers. Joe is a really storied life. He was quite sick a few years ago, but he's bounced back. He obviously owns Album Photos, potentially on the cusp of winning a third Gold Cup, having won again on his prep run at Tremor on New Year's Day. And Joe has Shishkin. He's all these good horses. The Big Getaway, who was one of my 10 to follow, who won at Christmas. But he's acquired this French Asile, who came from France, and he ran in a juvenile maiden hurdle, and he produced an absolutely extraordinary performance for Elmery Holden. Now, he's transferred to Willie Mullins. I can't get over how this horse is still 7-1 to win the Triumph Hurdle. I know Zana here, who was good himself in his graded performance at Leopardstown. He's very good. He's very hard to pick a hole in. This horse won a maiden hurdle by 20 odd lengths with another, 10 or 15 back to the horse in third, despite running a bit keenly, despite no hurdling experience. For me, he looks monstrously exciting, unless I'm completely missing something. And sometimes when something looks too good to be true, it is. I think this horse like could absolutely bolt up at Cheltenham, and he's joined Willie Mullins, so he was the one that for me I had 2 Cheltenham bets, Antipos wide receiver for the Albert Bartlett. I don't know if he's going to run there, but he's alive if he does. For Presenting Percy, who ran a shocker at Leopardstown, so I don't know what's happening with him. But the third one I had, and the biggest one I've had, is French Seal to win the Triumph Hurdle. I think he's a machine.
French Seal, as in a seal?
No, French Aseel, Aseel. So I don't know what that necessarily means, but he was bought for presumably quite good money by Joe Donnelly, and Willie obviously won't have him that long, but he knows what it takes to win the Triumph Hurdle. It was on about Willie and Gordon dominating, but I genuinely would be shocked if Zanahiyr or French Seal don't win the Triumph Hurdle. Nothing looks close to them in my view.
Tell me, what is your sense now about whether or not the Irish horses will be at Cheltenham this year?
I don't know. To be honest, sure. Like anything that I've said on the coronavirus has proven to be, so hard to predict. I've no idea. I thought we'd be out in the clear at this stage. So me trying to predict in March, I know that they'll do all in their power for Irish horses to go over there. But, if we have a situation now where they're talking about hospitals running in London basically soon being overrun, 100 people in ICU in Ireland, for me to be predicting what's going to happen with regard to horse in March, and considering how utterly useless I've been, and even from a racing context, I was a bit afraid, to be honest, that racing could be vulnerable because the situation has become so bad. So at this stage, I've no idea. But if you were to put a gun to my head, I would say, yeah, Cheltenham will go ahead with Irish runners there. But in terms of a crowd, I've no idea.
All right, okay, let's move on, because there has been a change at the top of the Tote 10 to follow leaderboard. Nice of you to bring it up, Johnny, but tough luck, because I'm now ahead.
What?
I've got the number 1 spot back with a little help from 2 Grade 1 winners, A Plutard and Sharjah at Leopardstown over Christmas.
Oh,
looks
you
like
Sharjah?
League me now with genuine title race, yeah.
Well,
2 points. Go on.
2 points. So it's that looks pretty tough. Well, I was looking up my 10 follow list there. Lexter Dane hasn't run, but all the other 9 have all won. So we're actually going. The 2 of us have done quite well, I would say. I'm amazed you took the lead. So there you go.
Yeah, we've got the Dublin Racing Festival at Leopardstown next month to look forward to. Remember, any of our 10 to follow winnings will go to the Irish Injured Jockeys Fund. See tote.ie for all the information. And that's pretty much all we've got time for this week's show. People looking forward, essentially at this point, the best horses are kind of probably in mothballs for the Dublin Racing Festival, are they?
Well, to an extent. So Naas on Sunday has its main race day of the whole year. If you want to be of the opinion that the flat is bigger than the jumps, which as a good Irish man or woman you probably should say it is, but they've the Lawlers of Naas Novice Hurdle at 2:30, and this is a really, really good, it's become a very pivotal race kind of in their season. But the proviso, obviously, Ger, at the moment is if you've been out today or if you're out early in the morning, it is very, very cold, and Naas might be called off. But if it is called off, I think it's going to be rescheduled for next week. In any event, that's a fantastic race. And the aforementioned wide receiver who's been put in at 14-1, I think, which with Paddy Power, big price to me under Jack Kennedy, will take his chance against the likes of Blue Lord, who's seriously well regarded, and Bob O'Linger, who's a gorgeous horse but has a big challenge on here. It's a brilliant, brilliant renewal.
Okay, so if that goes ahead, keep an eye out for it, and if it doesn't, we'll talk about it on next week's show, hopefully. Friday Night Racing and Off the Ball, brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie. We'll see you next week.
Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.